on everyone, welcome back. Sorry I've taken so long to make another video. I have made some progress with the Fiesta, not a lot, kind of finished off a few little extra bits with the Spaceframe on the front. Once I can roll the car back, I will get it all together and then explain what I've done and the changes I've made. It's now got the wings, are new wings, they actually bolt on, they're not actually part of the structure anymore, they literally just clip on. Started making the rear suspension setup. So I've gone from the solid rear axle on the 6-link, now going for full independent rear. It's kind of like Cosworth WRC setup. So central cradle, instead of bottom wishbones, and Fiesta struts going for double wishbones, and push or pull suspension depending on what I can fit, what arrangement I can fit, where I can fit everything. Because my plan is to try and get the coilovers and everything will be all attached to the cradle underneath. Keep the centre of gravity as low as possible. Keep everything under the boot floor. Just try and get the weight as low down. So yeah, cradle. I'm going with Nissan Skyline diff, the R200 diff. I think this one I've borrowed off of a friend for now, but the one I'm going to be going for is out of an R32 Skyline, I believe. It's got the right ratios for the sequential gearbox. So 4.1, I believe, rear diff out of the Skyline. I haven't gone for the 350Z diff or the Super diff out of the fact that they just didn't have the right ratios for me. I know they're going to be equally as strong, but I think for the weight of the car, I mean, I weighed this before I had my little accident. I think it was just over a ton with me in it, so I don't think I'm going to go breaking this too quickly. I've ordered some new hubs, which should be here in the week. I've gone with some, they're quite cool, they're like a kit car style hub that a Sierra hub body fits onto. So the plan is to be able to keep the right PCD for the wheels, all that kind of side of it. I'm going to try and make an adapter so I can go from either modify the Nissan flanges or go to some sort of adapter so I can go to a Ford. So I can try and run like, I don't know, like Focus drive shafts or something like that. Something that, I know it sounds crazy in such a custom car, but something that's interchangeable with it, or easier parts to get hold of. So say you snap a drive shaft, I've only got to replace it with a Focus drive shaft. I haven't got to worry about trying to make a drive shaft. I can at least have like a spare. So when I do eventually get around to drag racing this thing, or track, or whatever I'm going to use it for, if I do snap one, it's easier to get hold of. But then eventually down the road, when it comes to maybe ordering some like proper heavy duty ones, like some 1,000 horsepower ones, not that they'll ever be 1,000 horsepower, but I just got dimensions are easy, and they're easy to get a hold of. So yeah, hopefully the hubs will be here this week, so I can start looking at the sizing up the wishbones. Other than that, we'll dive into this and start having a bit of a look. Right, so first on my list of bits of extra fabrication to do this is I want to make some supports that come from these pieces back up and tie into the crossbar, just creating a triangle, your strongest shape, because these go into the original 6-link mounts that I made underneath. So the idea is as the torque gets transferred through the diff and it spins the wheels, the direction of this cradle is going to want to lift as it's trying to put the wheels to power to the wheels. The idea of these is to brace it, stop the nose coming up, because obviously my other 4 supports are at the back, so it's got like a fulcrum. So yeah, I'm going to go ahead and start making up these 2 tubes that will link into here. Making the top link for the cradle was a similar procedure to that of when we were making the roll cage in the previous video. I took some of my inch tube, cut it to a rough dimension, and then set about profiling the pipe to match the angles so it would meet into the cradle and then link down into the mounts that will be bolted into the car. And this really isn't something to be rushed. You've got to take your time and slowly work your way through it, just removing a little bit each time till you get the shape just right. So as you can see, after a bit of grinding, fettling and messing around, I've got my two supports now that are tying into the links. So that'll hopefully stop any movement in that orientation once it's all set up. So I'm going to be mounting the diff off of this cross tube you can see here. I'm going to bring this up and pick up on these two mounting points. This will then have bracing, obviously, to allow for any forward and back motion. On the back, I don't know if you can see it, you've got two mounting lugs here. So my plan is to use a piece of 50 by 25 box section. This will have to be cut and angled, and then this will pick up and have two separate bushings that pick up on these. That way the diff is held as supported as it needs to be, super strong. It's not going to go anywhere for maximum torque. Should also, by angling it in, should give me some clearance for hopefully the where I'm hoping to position the pull or push rod suspension, where the actual shocks are going to be situated. I'm hoping to be able to get them actually behind, so when you look at it from the back of the car, you'll be able to see the two shocks coming up diagonally and linking through. Right, so I have got off on a bit of a sidetrack here. My initial plan was to move on to doing the actual mounting of the diff. But the more I keep looking at Skyline diffs on eBay, the more I keep noticing that they have different mounts. I'll show you what I mean. So the ones I keep seeing on eBay, some have these type, and others have like a larger bush diameter, which must have like a 30mm bush or so that sits, and I don't know if the distance on these is the same. So I don't want to go ahead, fully weld in mounts and make gussets, God knows what, only to find out that that distance is different, and the same with the two studs on the back. So I think I'm going to have to wait until I purchase a diff. I think it's kind of made my decision for me. So maybe look after my next trip away at buying a new diff and going from there. So instead we're going to move on to mounting the wishbones, or making up the little brackets for the wishbones to mount to the top and the lower. Okay, so before we start looking at wishbones, we will look at the hub carriers. So these are MK Motorsports Indy carrier. The idea of this is a Sierra hub bolts directly to it. Makes life easy, keeps the same PCD for the wheels, and obviously parts are fairly reasonable to replace as opposed to WRC equivalents. So the reason I need to look at these before the wishbones is I want to know the distance from this mount to this mount. So the idea is I can then replicate that distance on the cradle. So I want to keep the top and lower wishbones parallel just for ease. I can add extra anti and whatnot at a later date and different angles for camber gain if I want to. The idea of it being that if I keep that distance the same, this should then move in a nice parallel motion to the cradle. Right, so through the use of some of my finest Cornish hieroglyphics and a bit of measuring and a bit of guesswork, not guesswork, it's all professionally done. This distance from here to here on a straight plane is 230mm. So my centres are 250 So it means I have to make my brackets with like a 10mm offset from the centre of the tube, which will be nice, which will then sit my rose joints in a good position to operate. Okay, so this is what I'm going for my brackets for the Wishbones. It's some 50 by 25 box with like a 2mm wool, so it should be more than enough for resisting tears or anything against it. So yeah, I'll get this all measured up, drawn up and cut out, and I'll stop waffling then. Early on in the video I know, but if you're enjoying the content, please do give the video a like, subscribe to the channel, and leave a comment. Let me know what you think, or any future videos you'd like to see of the Fiesta as we're going along. A good couple of hours, maybe 3 hours of grinding, cutting, sanding. I'm now left with these pretty stout looking brackets that are going to be used to attach to the cradle for the Wishbones. I've left both edges of the box section to give it extra strength, stop twisting motion. And the added bonus, I've left a flat edge. If you actually look where the position of my cutout is in relation to a piece of pipe, when it comes to setting all of this up, it will make setting up a lot easier because I can just sit that flat against it and it's in position from the get-go. There's no need to try and position anything awkwardly, not having to sit it on anything. It will literally just butt up to the pipe and sit flush. Okay, on to the next bit of fun, trying to work out the position where these are so they line up correctly for the hub. So the hub sits on the right centre, so it lines up with the diff correctly. Now, I've consulted some more Cornish hieroglyphics, and I know that it's 145mm to the centre line of the diff, the output flanges and the diff, from this back edge. Apologies for the car going down the road. I know it's 145mm to the centre line. So the centre line of this is 73mm, so therefore I've got to go, the centre line of this mount needs to be 72mm from this back edge. So not too complex. But that'll be the first line for this one. That'll be a nice straight, and then I'll have my diagonal coming across. Anyway, I'm going to go for like an RS200 style lower arm to begin with. Right, so that's the bottom two mounts done for this side. Well, not done, tacked in position. So now, seeing as I've got this side facing, I'm going to work out my positions for my top two, for my top wishbone. Same procedure, just got to work out the centre line because of the way this hub works and carrier works. Is it the top wishbone will just have it going straight into the centre. So I'll work out this position now and then get this one tacked on. And then same again, just work out a nice position for the front section. Right, so I've had a slight oversight in as much that the way I was going to do the top wishbone doesn't quite work out. So I'm going to have to flip where the rear mount is, and it's going to have to go behind it. It's not really an issue, just gets in the way of potentially where I was going to put the mounts for the pull suspension. We can get around it, but it does mean I'm going to have to modify this mount so it makes it easier to get in and weld. I'll show you what I mean on the actual frame. So obviously originally I was planning on putting the forward mount for the top wishbone in front. As you can see, there's no way that's going to work because that's the centre line of the diff output. I could make some triangle, but it just doesn't look right in my head. So we're going to put this here. You still get to the nut, still undo it. The bolt, still got enough room to get a bolt in and out. But I'm just going to remove this edge just so you can actually get in and weld the back side. It's going to be so tight trying to get a TIG weld in behind there. So it's just going to remove this lip, and I'll do the same for the other side. So, don't always go perfect first time. Unfortunately, my camera died, and by that sort of time in the evening, I was done recording. So I was cracked on and got the last few bits done. But as you can see, I've removed the top edge, so it's got a nice bit of access in there to get weld without really affecting it too much, the strength of it. I've also gone ahead and tacked all the fixtures on the other side. I mean, it was just literally a rinse and repeat of what I did on that side. Mark it out, make sure it was square, obviously in relation to the other side. You didn't want to measure it, find out something's amiss, and then find out you're 5mm out. So everything lines up, everything should be nice and straight on my outputs. Further to tacking the brackets on, I've also gone ahead and tacked in the two uprights that I made. So these are all ready to go. I'm not going to fully weld all of this yet because obviously I don't know. I want to make the wishbones, get all the hubs bolted on, and then retry everything up under the car. Make sure everything fits, make sure these don't actually foul on anything. Now I've got a physical tube there. So I think I'm going to call that end on this episode before it starts getting a bit too crazy and you're trying to fit all the other parts into one go. I'm dead pleased how this has come out so far. It's my first ever subframe I've made, I can say. It's going to incorporate all these kind of things. Obviously I've done the fabrication to the front, but this is a whole bolt-in sub-assembly. The idea is that if you want to diff out all the suspension, you're not going to have to get anything in the boot. It should all just be undone from underneath, and the whole lot just drop down in a oneer. So next up, we'll start looking at wishbones, start making up the jigs for those, and go from there. So cheers for watching, guys. Don't forget, go steady.